Yes. Well, happy birthday to our Capricorn friends, and happy birthday to our Capricorn friends joining us online. So I just got done going through this cycle talking about each of the astrology signs for Western astrology for this last year, and I had started on Capricorn last year in this time, which is so cool. And so my messages moving forward are going to be different. The ones we just shared were about the template of harmony, and that if you're interested in looking at how astrology can be a template of harmony. And that's why I talk about astrology here in our center. And so many of our spiritualities talk about that we're all one. There's one spirit, that we all go back to the one, right? And that we're all possibly humanity is a body, that we have this body of humanity. And that's why I love talking about astrology so much, because astrology talks about the body, and that there's 12 signs, that each one has a contribution to this body, so it's a larger working system. So there's 12 signs, but all 12 together creates a system or a body. And that's why I love talking about astrology, because it offers us this template of harmony of how a body of consciousness could possibly ever work together, using all these 12 different lenses that we can see the world through, right? And it's kind of funny, we laugh about it when we say, any Capricorns in the room, and there's a meeting ground when we talk about, double Capricorn, we kind of know a little bit about what that might mean, right? And we can joke about it. Of course, we don't know unless we deeply know a person. But there's this common ground that we can meet and at least joke about it, or at least feel like there's some level of resonance. And so that's what's so cool, is to think that, if you're a Capricorn, the sun was in Capricorn when you were born, that you may have a natural resonance with 1/12 of all the humans on Earth. That's a lot of people. And you may have a natural resonance. In the astrology template, we teach that the sign that is directly across supports each other. So even when we could joke about the shadow of Capricorn, we can joke about the shadow of any sign. But the sign right across from it has the strength to support that shadow. So even when we joke about our struggles and the human experience and the shadows, when we talk in the language of astrology, it gives us an opportunity to look at what would balance that, which is what I love. Because to me, when we're talking about ourselves as human in the context of race or religion or all these other ways that we talk about ourselves, there's no template for harmony that I've come across yet. So I say all of that to say that's why I'm speaking about astrology in church, is to talk about the working system, the body. Some call that the body of Christ, and lots of other ways to describe it as well. So we are just heading into Capricorn season, where the sun is moving into the astrology sign of Capricorn, and that's Christmas time. And I love this time of year. Capricorn is like the foundation. It's the earth sign, and we all have our own interpretations of it, and we can all build on that ourselves. But Capricorn can be very much about building, about a stable foundation, about building. You guys relate to that? Do you know any Capricorns in your life that you kind of relate to? Or they're just going to be the way they're going to be? There's all, we can joke all about it. I don't mean to put anybody in boxes, but I just mean to touch into that resonance. Yeah, two very square boxes, I guess. Yeah, exactly, in a square. I'm just teasing you. But anyways, okay, let's do this. So Capricorn is Christmas time. This is the time of Capricorn. And I remember a Christmas long ago where I received a gift from my parents, and it needed to be put together. It was something that had to be built. And so my parents said, okay, well, let's go and get all the tools that we need to build this and set it out. I think it was a play structure, so it was like a few tools, whatever they needed. And we're going to set the tools out, and then later in the day we'll read the instructions and we'll put it together. And I remember my feeling of like desperation and panic. I'm like, I have to wait to play with this thing, and you have to put it together, So, and that's the fun part about our astrology charts, is if you add up all of my planets and the elements and do the math, I'm 51% fire. And so it's interesting for you to maybe discover that about yourselves as a way to look at yourself. 51% fire. So when you tell me you have to wait your turn, you have to read the instructions, and you have to do things like the Capricorn, as a child, that was super challenging to me. And so we can kind of maybe possibly look at our children now, who, we call it different names for their behaviors and their experience, but what if it's just a lot of fire or a lot of air, and that they have something to bring? There's a gift in that to bring, right? So this step-by-step following the instructions, my parents used to say, Kindra, if all else fails, read the instructions. They said that to me over and over again. And it drove me absolutely crazy. It drove me absolutely crazy to have to wait to have the tools set out to build this thing. I wanted to use my gifts already. I wanted it to be instant. When we speak about spirituality and love and connection to Creator and Source, sometimes when we talk about laying our tools out one by one so that we can connect or build with the Creator, we talk about primary tools of faith or a primary tool of belief. So we can imagine like a little hammer and a little screwdriver of belief and faith, and that when we want to build with the Creator, we need to set those tools out and use them and follow the instructions, probably. Right? So tools, these primary tools of faith and belief. And it might be kind of, on the riskier side to ask this question, but I've wondered all my life, why at this time of Christmas, just a question, why do we tell a story and create a narrative for every single child and every single generation that gives them the tools of faith and belief around this time? And I just want you to kind of explore. Only that by the time that they're in early adolescence, they discover that they were fooled and that their primary parents or caregivers who implanted these tools of the screwdriver of faith and the hammer of belief in this story was a joke, and they're the fool. I've always thought about that. Why do we do that? Just a question. And by the time that they're in the stage of early adolescence, they've come to understand if you're in the know, if you really know, then you know that those primary tools of faith and belief are a joke. The cool kids know that that's a joke, right? And we may or may not have this foundation within us as we grow up that you cannot build on faith and belief, and it's taught to us. And so the way I see that in my mind when I think about our life, and we're here to learn, to change, and to build with the Creator, to build heaven on earth. When I look at my foundation of that betrayal, it's like a foundation that's become infected. Or when I have this thought, or God tells me I have this feeling of, I'm going to build this because I want to be in service. So I'm going to go build this. I've found myself going back to my, oh no, I'm wiser than that. Can you relate to that? Where you tap into your own foundation of everything you've logged in your life, back to the most primary wisdom that you have of your tools. And there's this information in there of like, oh no, that couldn't work. It's not going to work. It's just going to be burned down or, come down. So our foundation can become infected. So why do we do this? Just a question out into the world. Why do we do this? So many of us on Earth, some people call them star seeds or star children, crystal children, rainbow children, indigo children, all of these things. And also the old souls who are also here on Earth as our elders now, who have built the foundation for exactly what we're doing right now. If you're a soul who's come from a place where you've been able to trust your elders, possibly another planet, I know today is a weird day, or another place in time and space where you've had the experience of trusting your elders without any betrayal. And you've been in places where people work together and there is harmony. Your soul might remember places like that. When we come down to Earth and we start the story of what we're doing here as of now, it can hurt a lot. I've seen my friends have slight, what I would now call psychotic breaks all around the story of Christmas. So if we have an imprint of our soul that does remember peace, that does remember a working body, then Earth can be really tough and it can hurt. And then our emotional vibration can go down, right? And as we're growing up, we can start to apply this understanding of, oh no, now I have wisdom because nothing is real. Right? That's the truth. I can start to apply these things to everything. I can start to apply these things to every single aspect of my life. And some of those things are things like the way I perceive government, the way I perceive banking, the way I perceive business. And I bring those things up because those are topics that I feel kind of come into the strengths of Capricorn. So I can start to think about government and banking and business in the exact same way that I think about Christmas and the stories that have been told. right? Because if we're in the know, we know. So the question I have is, can the body of humanity be built well? Can it be built well? I don't know. There's so many of us who hold the frequency of heaven in our hearts. And when things get really tough on earth, when things go wrong, we know it and we feel it. And many of us have felt it in the past few years to different extents, very vividly, where we feel something is wrong, because our souls remember peace. Our souls remember heaven. One of these topics I just think is so interesting is I have so many friends, and I have heard this story, the same exact story, over and over and over again, in the same way, which is interesting, of people who I know their souls remember heaven, their souls remember peace, and they have this vision of what they may have already lived in another place, such as a farm and a community and working together in community, and everyone has like an intentional community where people are working together and things work harmoniously, and that's a beautiful dream, and I have that dream too. And they've come into this place now where, because of this understanding that nothing is real and you can't trust faith or these tools of belief and faith, that we have more capability than we might have. Many of these people who talk about this dream see themselves as leaders within it, that they're going to build a beautiful community and an intentional community. And if that is your dream, I don't mean to squash it. I mean to bring in the lens of Capricorn, which is that building a community with people, let's just say building a community of people who have some level of internal peace, still takes enormous diplomacy, an enormous commitment, an enormous patience, and meetings, and talking, and forgiveness, and listening. Enormous amounts of co-creative, evolved behavior. And that's awesome. And if that can be manifested, that's the dream. But if we're thinking about how we're going to build with people who are going through trauma, right? Like, let's say the apocalypse happens in the cities, everybody runs away from the cities into the farms, and you have this dream that you are going to lead a peaceful community. If that's your dream, one, you have to be able to calm your own nervous system enormously, and you have to be able to calm those around you's nervous systems enormously, without drugs. Right? So when we talk about like how horses have huge heart chakras, and that because of that, the electromagnetic field around them creates a space where others can heal. If you are going to lead through trauma, that's the skill you have to have. Can you do that? Right? And once your nervous system is calm, and once everyone else around you's nervous system is calm, then you have to be able to listen to God and figure out what's next. Right? And this is in the context of trauma, and I know there are so many people out there who do this. I know that there are paramedics and there are firefighters, and there are so many people who do this. They know how to do this. But in your way, when you're dreaming about how you're going to help the world, how you're going to fix the world, how you're going to lead through this world, are you grounded in those two things? That's just my suggestion for this morning, those two things. Do you have control over your own nervous system well enough to calm the space around you? And then can you listen to God? And then you create diplomacy, conversations, forgiveness, those sorts of things. And then your farm might work. And that would be so cool. Right? And just in case, let's just say in the story of humanity, I don't obviously know, but just in case there is no drama, just in case, I'm just going to put this out there at church, just in case there is no apocalypse. And I'll take all the energy back. Just in case there is no apocalypse, are we connected to the truth of God's plan for you? What if we're not running from adrenaline and that's going to kick us into God's plan for our life? What if it doesn't take an apocalypse for us to kick into God's plan for our life? Right? What are the tools that we have to get out now to build our gifts? So this analogy of this Christmas present that I wanted to use, it was a gift I wanted to use, and it had to be built with tools. There's a gift in you that God wants to use, that you feel that passion to use, that is built through tools. What are our tools that we're getting out right now? I kind of want to speak to sort of the younger generation, or whatever you call them out there. I don't know what I am in all of this. But, yeah, thank you. But we can imagine that every 30 years or so, things change. So even if right now government, it's just, a swear word. It's just banking, can't deal with it. Well, those things can shift in 30 years. In 60 years, everyone who is running those in those positions will have probably gone back to God. So every 30 years, there's like this collective shedding. So if you're 14 right now and you don't believe that anything good can happen on earth, maybe you're meant to be in the government. Maybe you're meant to be in business. How are things grounded? How are things built on earth right now? If you have an idea that you know is real and alive in your heart and you believe it can help other people, the tool that you might need to get out is belief. And then you might need to go to the Secretary of State and register your business. And I know, like I used to, in the younger generations, like, no. Right? If you have that response, the foundation's infected. We don't want to touch it. Ouch. Ooh, there's germs. It's gross. There's pus. It's nasty. So, and then you stay in your mom's garage doing what you're doing, playing your video games until you're 40 years old. And what a bummer. What a bummer, because what if you, at 18 years old, went down to the office and you took a piece of paper and you gave it to the person and they signed. And there's a process. So I'm like, it's a challenge to say, can you calm your own nervous system? And I ask myself the exact same thing. I'm preaching to myself all the time too, in the same sentences. Can I calm my own nervous system to say, okay, is this my favorite thing? No, I'm a Leo. Like, this is not my favorite thing. But I can be in a good place. I can have, enough caffeine to be pleasant. And I can go.
Thank you, caffeine.
And I can go to the bank and I can sit and have a conversation and I know if I'm speaking to Capricorns, you probably already know this. It doesn't bother you if you're a Capricorn. But if you're not a Capricorn, can you embody this into your life? Because God might want you to be the leader of the business, right? Might want you to be the leader of the bank, you to be the leader of the government. We don't like the laws, we go and we change the laws. And it might take 15 years. Right? The assignment is build heaven on earth. So the question I want to leave us with is, are we enjoying our gifts? These gifts, the analogy of a Christmas gift. Are we enjoying them? And do we have the tools to enjoy them of faith and belief? And no matter what stories we tell around this time, no matter what religion we have, no matter what environment and story we create around Christmas time, the one that feels the most potent to me is about how during the year, in the darkest time, it's kind of cloudy out, it's dark in December, and throughout the whole world, collectively, we've created a story that we build light in the dark. People will get up on their ladders and hang lights on their homes in the dark. All throughout the whole world. It's so cool. And that's the beautiful part of Christmas, is this culture of, these lights that are red, deep reds, and the pine and the trees and the smell of the forest, and the parts of Christmas that I love. I love the deep reds, the real rooted, kind of earthy Christmases. I love that vibration. And to me, that's saying, when it's dark, my root chakra has light. I'm alive. When it's dark, our root chakras are red. Our heart chakras are green. When it's dark, I have light alive in my heart chakra. So that's the message through Christmas that I resonate with the most. And so with that, let's just move into a super quick grounding meditation. If you're joining us, I invite you online, I invite you to close your eyes or just make yourself comfortable in your chair. And let's just take a moment and just do like a self-scan of your energy field. Cool. Go tech team. Good job, you guys. And let's just do a little self-scan where let's check our foundation. So maybe the energy that's around your waist area, your legs, your feet, your ankles, the space around your feet. We may call this our foundation. And I want to bring into this space the awareness of topics like business, banking, government, and just notice, how does your base respond to those words? And if you'd like, I would love for us to just take this metaphorical, magical salve of this white honey substance, and we'll just call that God. God's foundation for you. Love's foundation for you. And if you'd like, let's just take that salve and allow it to calm, to disinfect anything that isn't yours to hold in your foundation. Feeling that honey-like substance just gently calming and moving into any space that is not vibrating at your highest, strongest foundation. And seeing that honey begin to become solid or more solid in whatever way is comfortable for you. Relaying our foundation. If you'd like, we can take a little bit of that salve and rub it over our hearts as well, that we may calm our own nervous systems to God's will instead of the world. That we may create from within outward. And that through this practice that we may be able to affect others so that they catch the wave of God's will, of a stable nervous system. A strong central column. Chakras that are connected from the crown chakra of inspiration down to the base. This energy of Capricorn, the base. And that our hearts and our minds be able to receive the guidance from unconditional love to accomplish each of our own personal missions here on earth. We can start to bring our awareness back to our bodies, allowing this foundation to settle as we move into our week, into our day. You can give your toes a little wiggle, or rub your hands together. Whenever you're ready, we'll open your eyes. Good job, friends. Cool. All right, well, we'll keep it moving into the next portion of our service, which is our offering. And so knowing that this beautiful center for the last 30 years has been built completely by volunteers, by the generosity of sharing the gifts that we have. And of course, one of those gifts is the money that very Capricorn that has built this building, keeps the lights on, keeps the heat on, and it feels so lovely to stand here comfortably and speak with you. And so with our gifts in our hands, just know that this generosity that we share, it flows out freely, and it works, it builds, and then it comes right back to us through the law of like kind and attraction, or a few laws. All the laws, yeah. Empowering you with what's best and highest for your path. And we share this with openness and generosity, and so it is. And so as Connie passes the basket, if you're joining us online, we have PayPal, paypal.me/homecentersalem. And with that, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you.